Greetings, fellow humans, and here we are with another indie music review here on GoIndieNow. So, the Wonderful Idols have released a new album number 5, if you're not keeping count, and it's called Tangk. And the name of the album is because of the sound that they apparently make with their guitars.
Today, you're going to get two different perspectives here on not only this album, but the direction of this band. And for those of you keeping score and having been with us for a while, you'll know that there are two universal truths that are going to come from the both of us. The first is that we believe Idols is one of the best things to happen to music in the last 10 years. And the second thing being that in 2021, when Crawler came out, their previous album to this one, we both had it on our top 10 lists. JD had it number one, I had it number three. And I made a subtle but not so bold prediction that Crawler was the start of a new direction for this band and not just an experimental piece. That became ever so apparent and true right from the start of this album and in its opening track, Idea 01. Look, right away, I'm going to say bands evolve, bands change, and I get it. And this band especially had to. Their gimmick was going to get stale or maybe even same, which might be even a little bit worse if they didn't change. I personally just wasn't ready for the drastic shift here. And that's even with the primer of Crawler. And then the other not so subtle hint they left in Ultra Mono, the previous album to Crawler. The thing about the previous albums I appreciated is they eased into it a little bit more. There's a shining glimpse of the band I've grown to know and love, the version that I like, the version that made me such a fan of Joy as an Act of Resistance. It's one of my all-time favorite albums. One of my definitely top 50 indie albums of all time. I'm also a huge fan of Brutalism, their debut album. I love their grittiness, their balls, their penchant for buggery that tested your intuition and made a mockery of a horrible industry with not just the bravado aspect, but with this intelligence and such command of its own sound. While musically they've course corrected with Crawler, the lead singer and lead songwriter Joe Talbot's rage and beautiful melodramatic and forceful salvos were a saving grace for me. Here it's almost the polar opposite though. I felt like there was a tad bit of laziness when it came to the lyrics and the choruses especially. Something I hadn't seen before from this band. But sonically, this band no doubt really improved. The polish of their work here, especially in the music aspect, really showed through. While songs like Hall & Oates and my absolute favorite on this album, Jungle, bring me back to those days of the first two albums, there's a lot of skippable here for me. Though I will say something happened to me on this album. And maybe it was just time or needing the music in the right moment. But some of the songs I would have labeled as skippable are now starting to grow on me. Songs in particular like Dancer and Gratitude. There's still a little bit of that gritty rawness that I love from this band in this album, but as far as the direction goes, it seems they've decided on that, and it's just not my thing. And that's okay, because for millions of you out there, it will be. This, in turn, is the great thing about music, right? First, two people can listen to the same album and get two different thoughts on it, and then it can really appeal to one person and not so much the other. And that other aspect that I love is what happened to me on this album. The idea that I just had to give it some time. Well, I'm going to give it some more time. In the meantime, though, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, JD Estrada, and he will lead those of you who might like this direction band's going in as he gives you his idea of the change into the new evolution of this band.
So, if you're clicking on this, it's because you like idols or you're curious to see if album number 5 holds up to what is already a legendary discography. And I am happy to report that, at least for me, it does. Why do I say at least for me? Why do I start with this little asterisk, etc.? Because some people have found fault in the album for some reason. Okay, so their first three albums, Brutalism, Joy as an Act of Resistance, and Ultramono, are just intense albums. They're like, bam, 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 back to back to back. Super intense, just in your face, just awesome. And then they released Crawler, and Crawler was like a gear shift, and it's pretty intense in how they redefined their idol sound or started to explore new sounds and new styles and new things, for their identity. You can even go as far as saying that. Tangk, album number 5, does this further. So the name of the album is supposed to be based on the sound that the guitars make in a Idols album. It's Tangk and stuff like that. Okay. You would think that with a title like that, this would be a rocker. And what I can say is that this is the most replayable album that they've ever released. It's 11 tracks. It's 40 minutes. It's pretty good. But it is repeatable in the sense that you can put repeat all. You can listen to it over and over again, and it's not draining. I love Ultra Mono, but it's an intense album, and it has some really emotional moments, and so do the other 2 albums. Crawler is the one that is more nuanced and layered and pensive. So, okay, off the get-go, this is also their most danceable album. And you're gonna say, what? And yes, it is danceable, but not in your typical, bop or whatever dancing. It is danceable in the way that the idols understand it being danceable. From track number 1, which is Idea 101, you will hear something that you will go like, that's different, but familiar. And it'll be familiar because the production in this album is by Nigel Godrich, who is from Radiohead fame. Nigel has been the producer for Radiohead since OK Computer and has helped them shape their sound. So if you hear Idea 101 and you get echoes of Bloom from King of Limbs, don't be surprised and don't be alarmed and don't be turned off. Just go with it. This is an album that definitely asks you to go with it. So you have Idea 101. It's like very dreamy. There's a lot of keyboards. There's a lot of textures, a lot of atmosphere. And then you go to Gift Horse. And Gift Horse is a rocker, and it's a rocker that just motivates me and makes me want to do whatever I have to do in the best way possible and go, go, go. And then track number 3 is Pop, Pop, Pop. Pop, Pop, Pop is the most replayable track in the album for me. It's got this drone synthwave sound to it, and it is very danceable. And it is, it is very danceable. It is a track that, bang, bang. And the lyrics are they're just catchy, and they hit me in a particular way. After that, you're gonna have Roy. Roy if you go back to Crawler, their 4th album, there's a track called the Beachland Ballroom, and it is a softer version of that track because Beachland Ballroom is belting. This one is also belting, also has a little bit of that gospel, but it's not as intense. And it's curious because the next track is called A Gospel, and it is very mellow, and it is very gentle. And with tracks like this one, like Idea 101 and others in the album, you pay attention to the lyrics. And Joe Talbot is an exceptional lyricist, and since he sings like a pirate and has enough energy to power a large metropolis for about a day with one set, people don't pay attention. He's a great lyricist, very clever, very well thought, just super cool. So Gospel is like really mellow. And then you have Dancer, and Dancer is gonna make you want to dance cheek to cheek, which is another fun song. They collaborated with LCD Sound System. It's a very fun track. And then track number 7 is Grace, which is another mellow track. So there's a lot of mellow tracks in this album. Some people might find fault with that. For me, it's a bit refreshing. I really enjoy Grace. I really enjoy the feeling in that track. I really enjoy the lyrics in that track a lot. And then you have 1, 2, 3 Punch. First off, you got Hall & Oates, which is classic Idols rocker. and it just makes you want to shake your tushy, like he would say. Then you have Jungle, which is, it's got this infectious groove, 3x4 the rhythm. It's got swag. It's just dripping in swag, and it's a lot of fun. And then Gratitude is that muscle car idle song that makes you want to go 90 in the highway, like, it's just a driving track. And then you slide into Monolith, which is the last track of the album, and it is a very slow, very dreamlike, almost sleepy track. And that's how they close the album. So if you have it in repeat all, you go from Monolith to Idea 101, and having that loop where, you know, it's a really cool arc. It's not draining. And how many times can you listen to 40 minutes in 6 seconds? This is going to be a good exercise, because up till now my record is 5 times in a row before I go like, let me listen to something else, because there's other music out there. And I think they did a fantastic job. So if you're a fan of the Idols and you are open to them exploring new parts of their sound, by all means, check this album out. I think it's a testament to a great band exploring new uncharted territory, and I love that. So by all means, check it out, and remember, it's always time to go indie now.